Hi boys and girls. Okay, so last video you were adding fractions with models. Tonight we are doing subtracting, or for you today, you're going to do subtracting fractions with models, and the steps are the same except for 4. Instead of adding, we have changed it to subtract. So you can go ahead and write that down. The first step, remember, was to find least common denominator, and we do that by multiplying. You still have to do that. You still have to find your new numerator, because if you change your denominator, you now have a new numerator. You do that by multiplying. Step 3 is draw your fractions, draw your models, since we are modeling. And then step 4, we are going to subtract, and you only subtract your numerators. You do not subtract your denominators. And the last step is you simplify if you need to. All right? Okay, let's get started. We'll start pretty simple. So if you have 1/4, and we're going to take 1/8 away. Now, one way you can look at this too is the larger your denominator, the smaller your piece is. So if we were to draw this out, 1/8 is smaller than 1/4. Alright, so starting with the first step, it says find least common denominator by multiplying. So remember, we take our two denominators. We have a 4 and we have 1/8. You start listing their multiples. Multiplying, you list multiples. That means we multiply each number by 1, by 2, by 3, by 4, and if we need to, we keep going. But like in the last video, I told you I only do a couple at a time to see if I can get in that in the first couple of tries. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. The 8. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4 is 32. Some of you may have noticed that I could have stopped a long time ago. My common denominator, the number I see on the top row and the bottom row, is 1/8. Least common denominator is the number 8. Now, I want to show you something, because 8's not the only number that I see. I also see a 16. So in this video, let's just say you picked 16 instead of 8. So you said, oh, you didn't notice the 8's there and you only saw the 16. So okay, fine. I'm going to use the 16. Now we have to figure out our new numerator. How did we jump from 4 to 16? 4 times what gives us 16? 4 times 4. Whatever I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. 1 times 4 is 4. So let me do the same color. My new numerator is a 4. The bottom fraction. Going from 8 to 16, 8 times 2 is 16. So whatever I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. 1 times 2 is 2. So we've done step 1, we've done step 2. Step 3, we are modeling, we are going to draw the fractions. So I'm going to start with my top fraction. We are now subtracting, so you want to start with the top one. Now I know I'm going to have a total of 16 pieces, right? But out of my 16, in this example, I'm only using how many? 4. And since we do not touch our denominator when we are adding or subtracting, I'm just going to draw my 4. 1, 2, 3. But I'm going to name them a 16th. This is a 16th. This is a 16th. This is a 16th. So I know I do not have fourths. I don't have 12ths. I don't have eighths. These are little tiny fraction pieces. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the 16. So if I kept going, I would have a total of 16 of them to make a whole. But we don't need a whole. Now, out of my 4/16, I'm taking away how many? 2. 1, 2. So all I did is I took this fraction here and I crossed it out. Notice I did not draw like the last time. I did not draw 2/16 because then we're combining, and combining is adding. I'm taking away from what you have. So that's why you draw what you already have. It's like money, right? You're only taking away your numerator, which was a 2, so I only am crossing out 2. Again, if we look here, so I'm left with what? 2/16. 4 minus 2 is 2. Denominator does not change. Now, here we can use where we have step 5 where it says simplify. Here's a perfect example. And notice what happens. If we remember with simplifying, we're trying to get to the smaller numbers, right? So I'm not going to add. I'm not going to multiply, and I can't subtract. We didn't go over subtraction with simplifying. We are dividing. So something times 2 will give me 16. If you notice, we would divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So my answer is 1/8, which is also equal to 2/16. So technically, if you wrote this, you are correct. But the better answer is to simplify and have 1/8. And look what happened. If I had from the beginning, notice that my denominator was an 8. My least common denominator was an 8. I would have got that answer in the first place. Do you see that? Now remember, if you cannot figure out how to do this, with finding a least common denominator, we're multiplying, but when we are simplifying, we are dividing. So you would list your factors of each number. So on this one, it's opposite. If I would take my numerator, take my denominator. So notice this one, for least common denominator, we take the denominators only because we're finding a denominator. With simplifying, you're taking what you have. You're taking your numerator and your denominator and you're listing factors. Here you're listing, you see me? Multiples. So there's a difference. Here I'm saying what gives me 2, right? So 1 times 2. This is where the prime and composite comes in handy. This is a composite number, so 1 and then 16's at the end. 2 times 8, 3, nothing, 4 times 4. This equals a composite number. Composite. And then you take what's in common, 2. So we divide it by 2. Alright, good job. Let's do another one. Let's do 2/3 minus 1/2. First denominator is a 3, second denominator is a 2. We are both different, so we need to list the multiples for both. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. Now the 2. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Still cannot stop. 2 times 3, 2 times 1, 2 times 2. Yes, 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 5 is 10. I'm keeping going because I still do not, I can actually stop. Look, I missed it. Common denominator is a 6. So my new fractions are going to have a denominator as a 6. How do I get from 3 to 6? You can use this also to help you figure that out. For this one, times 1 times 2. So for 3, I divide by 2. Oops, I'm sorry. Yes. Multiply by 2. Excuse me. For the 2, 2 times 1, 2 times 2, 2 times 3. So this can help you figure out what number goes here. I multiplied by 3 on the bottom. New numerator, 2 times 2 is 4. New numerator down here, 1 times 3 is 3. On this one, you take your top one. Just like regular subtraction. I'm only going to make 4 pieces of my 6. Remember, if it helps you to separate it, I'm just making, here's a 6, here's another 6, here's another 6, here's another 6. This one's pretty nice. I'm taking away 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. All I'm left with is a 6. So my answer should be 1/6. 4 minus 3 is 1. Denominator stays as a 6.